Poffenroth, and I will be your guide on some interactive activities today that will be less than painful, a little fun before we do the book signing, because I like to bring a little something extra to any experience that I am doing. So I first want to thank John and Kinokuniya for hosting tonight. It's so wonderful to be in New York and so wonderful to share time and space with y'all. So thank you for coming out. All right, so everyone has done their pre-homework, yeah? Have a little card, excellent, and put it in the envelope, because go ahead and hold on to this. We're gonna do something with a little bit later, but for now, just have that in your back pocket. I just wanted to make sure that everyone was able to get that done. And also in your little packet, this is just something fun. This is some art that was done for specifically the book launch by one of my friends, Delia Ray Taylor in San Francisco, and we just made a little bookmark out of it for her book tour, something fun to share. And of course, we will be doing book signings at the very end of our little interactive portion of the evening, and books can be purchased up front, and we'll include the Fear Wheel sticker that we're going to talk about in just a second, as well as digital downloads that you can add to your phone or to revisit any of the kind of quick wins on many of the tools that you'll find in the book. So briefly, about why I wanted to create something like this. I wanted to have the opportunity to bring people tools that were based in science, based in evidence, but were something that could be quick and easy, not something you needed to ingest, something that you could try and share and experiment and play with, in addition to some really funny stories in the book about things like me running from a bear with a pizza. I mean, because the pizza was $45, I wasn't going to just give the pizza to the bear. But to find out more about that story, you'll need to read the book. It's just like my attempt at teaser talk. Ooh, can't give him the whole story now. But I wanted to make the book really fun. And when we think about our normal everyday fears, and it's important to kind of note that I don't work in the clinical space. So I work with the total normal human experience of having the emotion of fear. And fear is something that we are going to experience whenever we are doing something big, whenever we want to make those huge leaps that are going to get us towards the life that we want. It's natural, right? But we aren't given any tools to be able to navigate through these spaces and seasons of our life. So I wanted this to be something that allows people to have that toolkit in an easy, fun kind of way. And we're going to do some of the tools together today. So the RAIN method, and it's going to be a little brief background on my work. I'm a professor of biology at San Jose State University, and this book stems out of my academic research, but also gathering all of the bits and bobs and pieces that I found in primary journals. And so when we get to the neurohacking part, there will be things that, I didn't invent all of these things, but I am a gatherer of these things to make them fun, accessible, and an easy toolkit. But the RAIN method is something that is a kind of culmination of many pieces of disjointed information in primary journals. And of course, we've been studying psychology for quite a while, but psychology has really been primarily focused around what's wrong with the human brain, instead of how do we just optimize the equipment that we've been given. And for me, it's about that optimization, right? We're not broken. We just need a manual, and that's hopefully what my goals, my dreams for Brave New You is. So one of the things, and we're going to do this together. When we think about how our brain is centered around fear and courage and bravery, and what brings to creativity and innovation. Very, very brief science, but if you look at the amygdala, which is going to be two almond-shaped structures, kind of in the center of your brain, one on the left, one on the right. We're going to call that the fear center. Now, if this was a room full of neuroscientists, there would be, words about like oversimplification, but we don't need all of that stuff, right? Because I want to make it simple. What do you need to know? So for us, we're going to call that the fear center. And the amygdala's job is to keep you safe and alive. Because we're all here because we had an entire lineage of humans that were afraid enough to stay alive, that didn't do really stupid stuff, that got them killed before they could procreate, right? Because then you die, you don't pass on your genes. But luckily, we are from a line of really afraid people because it kept them alive, which allowed us to be alive. So the amygdala works in kind of a binary fashion, like on-off, right? We will experience fear on a spectrum of something as mild as kind of what we just call stress to full-on terror or panic, right? That's going to be a spectrum of experience. But for the amygdala, it's like safe, not safe. Danger pants, not danger pants. It's just really, really binary straightforward.
Still young.
And the amygdala is always going to try and keep you in your little like blanket cave of safety because the world's scary. Just go back to bed, it's fine. But that's not the life that we say that we want for ourselves. The life that we want is on the other side of the scary bits, right? However, when we say we want to be creative, when we want to innovate, we need our prefrontal cortex for that. And to find that, you would just take your hand. Everybody take your hand. Gently slap yourself on the forehead. Right behind your hand is going to be your prefrontal cortex. And that is going to be really what we associate with our humanness, right? Our ability to plan, be creative, and of course innovate. Because you can't come up with complex solutions to the world's biggest problems until you can use that prefrontal cortex to do that. However, this is the sad part. When we are even in a minor fear arousal state, our prefrontal cortex goes offline, takes a little nap, which means that if we are even slightly stressed, and I say stressed because stress is actually just a euphemism for fear. So if we have just even a small fear arousal experience, our ability to create and innovate stops being physically possible. So we need tools to fix that, right? When we take a look at kind of the big things that we fear, and you don't have to answer, but think about the things that you wrote on your card. Hopefully you wrote something that was a little bit deeper than, I'm afraid of spiders and clowns. Which, I get it, spiders and clowns. Totally understandable. And if I was to take this mic and kind of run around and accost people in the store, like, hey, what is your greatest fear? Most people are more comfortable with talking about external fears, like spiders and clowns, right? Because it's not the internal ones, the ones that are really impacting our ability to be successful are the ones that people don't want to tell other people, which is why your cards are going to be safe and secret. No one's going to peek. But those are the ones that are the most insidious with how we live our life. So one of the ways that we can start to, like, is that creaking my bones or the cord? We're going to say it's the cord. The first one, so in the RAIN method, the first step is to really recognize that you're having a reaction, that your amygdala is starting to get fired up, that you are in a fear arousal. And we all have very different tells. For me, and this is not an exhaustive list, this is just, it's an infographic card, not really enough room for all of them, so I just picked like the 6 top ones. But for me, I'm a shoulder scruncher. Like, my shoulders will be in my ears when I'm under a lot of stress, where I'm trying to do something big and audacious, and I'm trying to do something new. And so I know from one of my tells is that if I'm going like this, or I'm also like a jaw clencher, if halfway through the day I'm like, I can't, ow. Throughout this book process, there were points that I had to have like
the frozen peas, like a fighter, like you just, I just gotta fight. The frozen peas on my face because I was clenching my jaw so much. But when you're in it, you don't really notice until you notice. And that's your body trying to tell you, like, hey, so something's going on, maybe you should deal with it.
And the early, like, gentle signs from our body, we're pretty good as humans to ignore them. Like, yeah, I got stuff to do, it's fine. But getting kind of better, okay, what are your tells that you know your body is physically reacting to some type of either overwhelm, you're feeling anxious about something, you're feeling like straight up terrified about something. And public speaking is one of those things that many people are terrified about, but it is something that you allow yourself to connect and communicate with other people. So the value is there, so we need those tools to be able to get to that space of value. Once you recognize what your tells are, you want to assign. And I know that this is super tiny, especially at this age. I wake up and this is me and my phone. I'm like, oh, sure, it's true. Can I have the 140% font on this? Or when you go to like a restaurant and the font is so tiny, I'm like, can I have, like doing this on the paper menu, but it's not expanding. So I know that's tiny, but if you go to the back, here's another QR code, and of course these are all going to be your free little handout fun stuff. You can download this infographic as well as this fear wheel, that I'm going to talk about in a second, as a JPEG for your phone, and you can make it as big as you want to. Because I know it's really, really small. So the assigned step is going to be an opportunity for us to pigeonhole. The human brain loves to put stuff in boxes. For example, here in this beautiful store, we don't just have all the books in one big pile and you kind of just dig and figure it out, right? You go to the nonfiction section or the fiction section. You go to, even within those big sections, you have smaller sections. I'm here for a cookbook. I don't want to go to, murder mysteries. And that makes us feel safe. Having order in a chaotic world that many times just doesn't make sense because life, the world, it's just how it is, helps our human brain to make sense of our environment and for us to feel okay and for us to feel safe. So pigeonholing, where you just choose one word, and many people will fight me on this. They're like, I'm a very complex individual. I have lots of words. Like, I'm sure you do, but the point is to just choose one. So some of them, though I can't read them, but they are on there, would be, you want to, what is the thing that you're feeling right in that second? Is it something like overwhelm? Is it something, like trepidation? You want to give exactly one word. And just the activity of assigning one word to whatever you're experiencing in that moment is going to be the point, right? The process is the point. It's not about being perfect, right? Because perfectionism is also like a coping mechanism that unfortunately we've all gotten accustomed to.
Just finding one word. And then if you still don't feel better, but a lot of times many people because again, that fear response is going to be on a spectrum. And sometimes it's very mild, sometimes it's really not. But many times, even just at the assigned point, you're like, oh, actually, okay, I feel better, I feel, ready to move forward with my day and feel empowered, okay, I'm ready to go. But if it doesn't, then continuing on that pigeonholing in step 3 for identify. When we take all of the kind of internal fears that we experience in our life, we can very roughly put them into one of 2 buckets. Either the fear of not being enough or the fear of losing control. This step is going to be, okay, you've identified the thing that you're feeling. Now get a little deeper on what bucket, and you can only choose one. And yes, there are things that are really complex that kind of go to both, but that's not the point. The process is the point. So just choose one. If the thing that you know is the cause of how you're feeling in this moment, does it fit more in the bucket of fear of not enough or in the bucket of fear of losing control? So things like, aging. Me not being able to see my phone. I'm running out of arm at some point because I'm already like here. And the idea of aging and losing or having the possibility of losing autonomy and losing the ability to do things that maybe you've always taken for granted. That is going to be, a huge fear for many people. Or fear of not enough. Not going after that promotion, not going after that new job, staying in that relationship that is no longer serving you or your partner, not moving to that city because you don't know anyone. And it's a big city like New York. What if I don't find friends? What if no one likes me? What if everyone hates me and I eat worms? Those things keep us from the life that we dream of. And when we start to kind of put them in boxes, then we feel more empowered to do something about them.
And last but not least is going to be navigate. So the navigate stage is going to be where the neurohacks come in. This one that is going to be on the card is just box breathing. I didn't invent box breathing, but it is used by the Navy SEALs, so it can't be too bad because they kind of do some, badass stuff. So I think if they use it, it's probably pretty good. But again, I bring in tools, even if it's not something that I created, that if it works, and nothing in this book will hurt you. They're meant to be played around with, right? Like, try it, see if it works. If it doesn't work for your particular brain and body, that's fine, just move on to another one and see what else works. Like, playing, being curious, exploring is the power in some of these neurohacks, that it's just, see what's gonna be the one for you. So, box breathing is gonna be one, it's pretty straightforward, but instead of doing the box breathing one, I'm going to, because you're going to have this one, I'm going to pass out a couple of cards for us to do a little bit of an activity together. And actually, you know what? While I'm doing that, why don't you practice the box breathing? I'm going to be listening, okay? So, in box breathing, it's just like a box. You breathe in for the count of 4. You hold that breath for a count of 4. You breathe out for a count of 4. And you hold that breath for a count of 4. And I would love everyone to kind of like practice that while I'm getting the cards ready and see if you feel any different, right? See if there's a change in any part of your person, your brain, your jaw clenching. So please hold. I would play some holding music, but I don't have any, so I'm just going to listen for your very loud box breathing. Excellent. You passed out one of 3 cards, and I'll go back on mic.
So I passed out one of 3 cards, and these are going to be the digital copies of the full deck will be available on the QR code with the purchase from Kinokuniya today.
But we have 3 in the room, and this is gonna require everyone to get up and start to move around, because I want you to find your group, and I'm gonna call out where they're going to be, and then just practice, like introduce yourself, obviously, because then it's weird if you don't, and just practice this very quick neurohack that you should be able to learn from the card. And if you don't, I did not do my job well, so let me know that the instructions did not make sense, because my students do. My students have no problem telling me that the instructions do not make sense. All right, so I'm going to put the pinch the valley ones right over here on my left, right here, and we'll just take a couple minutes to introduce ourselves to one another. And then I'm going to put and I'm gonna have to go off mic for this one. So if you have the near and the far, and then you tapping into courage, folks. Right here. Good. So yeah, so you want to not the webby, because there's not really much in the skin. Yeah, you want to kind of where your thumb and forefinger are coming together in the kind of and just kind of activating your vagus nerve, calm down your amygdala. And this is something that's super easy to do. It's one of my favorites. That no one knows you're doing it, right?
playing along to it, but long take this, and you just make something up. But but what you're doing through the radial nerve is accessing the vagus nerve to calm the blood, bring back a sense of control and empowerment, and again, not that it's going to work for everyone in the world, but unless you're really digging in and bruising yourself, you're not going to hurt yourself. Right?
Is that if you do right or left?
No, I do right because I'm right-handed, but it doesn't matter. You go like either way. So those cards, of course, are yours to keep, and I'm just going to visit our little group.
We're creating.
Yeah, like, so that was a great question. How many hours do you have to do these? And if you're either going to feel it or you're not, it should be something pretty instantaneous. Yeah, right. Or you may just be trying to massage the flappy bits. All right, ladies and gentlemen. So we're going to come back and do our very last activity before we do our book signing, and then yeah, I'll be here for questions and book signings and things. Those are all for you. So everyone gets to go home with a. We lovingly called them, and there's still a deck that we're creating. Like neurohacking tarot cards. I haven't had a good, like, solid final name for them. So right now they're the neurohacking quick win tarot card name TBD. All right, so we have our little cards. Now, I did not do my homework because, like a very classic academic, we ask you to do as we say, not as we do. So I'm going to fill this out. So let's see. One of my current greatest fears is Amazon reviews. So I'm going to write that down. Amazon reviews. And that's not necessarily an internal fear, but it's something that keeps me up at night.
Mary, is that the fear of not being enough or the fear of not being in control?
You know, yeah, definitely both, but if I had to choose just one bucket, I would say of not being enough, right? Putting a book baby out into the world is letting the world judge you, especially in the time of reviews, even though there's also Rate My Professor, so. I try not to just read those. All right, so as our very last kind of closing out this wonderful time that we've spent together, and again, I know that time is our most precious commodity of our life. There's only so much that we have, so I really want to thank everyone for joining me. I want to thank John and Kinokuniya for hosting and believing in the work and the power of the work to do good in the world. So take your greatest fears in the envelope, okay? And then this is gonna be a little harder to do with holding a mic, but I'm gonna do it, and we're gonna rip it in half. And we're gonna rip it again. And then if you have the finger strength, which I don't think, maybe I do, I don't know. Maybe with my teeth, rip it. Okay, no, I can't. Okay.
That's gonna rip the little individual pieces. I'm gonna rip this thing apart.
I know. And on the count of 3, as a community, as people coming together to share time and space for a braver, more courageous tomorrow, we're going to throw our fears into the air like confetti so that we can walk out of here for being braver, more courageous, more badass. You ready? On the count of 3. 1, 2, 3! Thank you, everyone.
Well, you got fears all over you.
You got some fears in your hair.